What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview. First off, thank you so much for tuning in, for checking out the show. Your support is massively appreciated. The only reason that this show exists is because of all of your amazing support. So we truly appreciate your support. I truly appreciate your support. Make sure that you're sharing the show with as many people that you feel would benefit from the show. The goal is to always grow this show and go out there and have a big impact. Real quick though, before we jump into today's podcast, I want to plug our sponsors that make all of this possible. Our first sponsor is my personal 90-day mastery bootcamp. This is my real estate agent mentorship training program. It's a group training platform. This way it makes it extremely affordable for you. Inside this program, however, I am unpacking my entire playbook. I'm walking you through step by step everything that I do inside my real estate business, everything that I've done, everything I've learned in my 12-plus year career with selling over 5,000 homes, with selling over $1 billion in real estate. And I walk you through step by step exactly what I've done, how I built what I've built, and what I'm doing today to go out there and create the success. But don't mistake the low cost for low value. This is an insanely in-depth, step-by-step program where I'm walking you through, again, step-by-step on how I go out there. My team sells 1 to 2 homes every single day in today's market, continue to grow my business year after year, and how I've been able to exit from selling, exit from actually day-to-day involvement in my real estate team, and create an epic, amazing real estate team that not only sustains but grows without my involvement. So whatever level that you're at, whether you're a brand new real estate agent, you're an individual high-producing agent that wants to expand and create a team, or if you already have an amazing team, or you're a broker owner that's looking to step up your internal training, looking to step up your systems, your processes, your tracking, make your business more predictable, this program is absolutely for anybody that's serious about leveling up inside their business. So check us out, www.90daymastery.com. Make sure you use promo code LIVEMASTERY, all one word, all together, all caps. That's going to get you the biggest discount on 90daymastery.com. You're going to see tons of testimonials on their video testimonials, what's included in the program, the future dates of the program. I do several of these every single year, so make sure to check us out and make sure to jump inside that program ASAP. My next sponsor that makes this show possible is PerfectStormNow.com. If you're a real estate agent and you are looking for a lead generation machine website backed by an insanely powerful CRM system that allows you to convert your leads to appointments at the highest possible level, manage all your tasks, make sure that you're effective and efficient as you possibly can be inside your business, transaction management component, all of that stuff. It is hands down by far the most effective and affordable real estate website and CRM program that exists out there in the industry. It's what I use to go out there and sell 650 plus homes every single year, and the system is gnarly. If you're signing up for that program, make sure to use promo code MASTERY, PSN, all caps, all one word, all together. That'll save you the $200 registration fee and get you a great discount. Our last sponsor is REO University. So I teamed up with a good buddy of mine who is the most knowledgeable dude, hands down, that I've ever met when it comes to REO properties. This guy used to work for the banks directly as an asset manager, and he developed so many of the systems that you see that asset managers and asset management firms and banks use today. This guy sold over 11,000 properties, foreclosure properties, as an asset manager. And he and I teamed up with my experience of working with over 35 banks in my career, selling thousands of REOs, plus his experience. We've created just an insane program. Again, REO University, the website is www.REO University. It's a one-time payment for $997, or you can split that up into 3 monthly payments. This is not a live boot camp like my 90-Day Mastery boot camp. This is something that you have access to instantaneously. We'll walk you through exactly how to go out there and get in with the banks. So how to get the business, but then how to service that business at the highest level, how to go out there and complete BPOs, how to complete cash for keys, how to make sure that you're insane at your valuations, how to go out there and make sure that your asset managers are winning and hitting their goals, key indicators you need to look for, and more. There's 22 in-depth, just amazing, powerful modules that will teach you how to become an REO machine inside your real estate business. Now, if you're like me, I don't want my business to ever be in a vulnerable position, right? I don't care if it's a good market, bad market. It doesn't mean that my business needs to be good or bad. My business can always be great. During a market crash, right? There's no such thing as if the market's going to crash. It's just a matter of when, right? But again, you don't need to put yourself in a vulnerable position. You can make sure that your real estate business is 100% recession proof, and go out there and, of course, generate business, do a ton of business regardless of what's happening in the marketplace. And this is exactly how you go out there and do it. And we walk you through step by step. So check us out, REOMasteryUniversity.com. You can learn more about the program, hopefully register for the program, jump on in. This price will not last long, right? We just created this product, rolled it out several months ago, and just getting in the hands of the consumer, and people are having a lot of amazing success. So again, check us out, REOMasteryUniversity.com. All right, again, you guys, thank you so much for watching this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to share the show. Make sure to comment. Like us on YouTube. Leave some positive comments. We love hearing back from you guys, and love getting your feedback. Keep kicking ass, and let's jump on into today's interview. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode interview, where every single week we interview top entrepreneurs and strip-top badasses out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, their families, as well as have a big impact on others while they exist. So today, you guys, we got another rock star, amazing, badass guest on the show. Just to give you a little background on our guest. So he went to college for a political science degree, right? And I love his intro that he wrote. He's like, calls it, this bullshit degree of, essentially went to school not knowing what to go to school for, but got this degree, realized once he graduated the degree is like, dude, I can't make enough money at this to even pay off my tuition. So that led him into getting a job in the banking space. So he started off as a mortgage banker, then got promoted to an investment banker, started leading and growing teams there, but still wasn't the vehicle to help him to accomplish his real estate goals. And then one night, 2 a.m., he's watching an infomercial, which prompted him to buy this $49 product, right, on real estate investments. Gets that product that leads him to drop in another $6,000 on another product. And eventually, that's what started and propelled his investment career. 10 years later, he's completed over 200 personal projects and has owned and partnered on over 400 rental units in 4+ states. And now is a partner, co-owner in multiple different projects and firms out there. One is AA Premier Properties. One is Short Sale Mitigations LLC. Also speaker, trainer for real estate agents and real estate investors, amongst a lot of other things. So really stoked and honored to have Nick Aalerud on the show, my friend.
Wow, Josh. I'm humbled just by that bio. Thank you so much. Holy cow.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked to have you on.
I'll do my best. I'll reach up.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked to have you on, man. I've been excited for this for a while, and I mean, you're doing a lot of huge things, and just stoked to hear about your journey, and as well as our listener base. All entrepreneurs, and a huge percent of them are real estate agents in this space. And, so many of the things that you're doing can help them go out there and massively explode their business. So not only am I intrigued to just interview and pick your brain, but I know there's going to be a lot of content that's going to help me in my own real estate business as well as our listeners. So I'm excited, man. So, before we get into what you're doing now, dude, because you got your own real estate brokerage, you've got, the short sale negotiation company, essentially, you've got all, your investment business, got all these things that you're doing. But I'm always intrigued in our guest journey. I talked a little bit about your journey that led you into this space, but let's kind of do a dive, if we wind the clocks, into what led you to where you are. So you graduate from college with this political science degree. How did that segue into banking in the first place?
It was actually a bumper sticker that I got as a graduation gift. If you want to, we're getting into the nitty gritty now, but literally a bumper sticker that a family member gave me that said, "Politicians and diapers are both changed frequently and for the same reason." Yeah. So I was like, that got me, because back then, honest to God, like I was a huge people pleaser. Like I really, really cared about, this is a great lesson, I guess, internally that I've come through 12 years later, right? But like, I wanted to make everybody happy around me. I wanted to do everything to make everybody else, respect me and pleased and excited. And like, I was that guy. So I realized, like, no one likes politicians or attorneys. Why the hell did I even do this? Like, what was the point of me going through all of this? And like, so if I'm even going to run for office or I'm going to be an attorney, no one's going to like me anyway. So like, what the hell was that all about? And I'm like, well, if I'm ever going to run for office, I'm going to buy my way in. So I'm going to go to banking. They're going to teach me all about stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I'm going to learn, like, I'm going to be the richest son of a bitch alive, at least, and figure that one out. So that was my next move. I worked for the Federal Home Loan Bank in Boston, which is that overnight funds thing. I learned the whole back office of where, like, our current mortgage funds have to borrow money, overnight funds from, if they loan too much money out during the day. And then I went to work for Mellon Bank. And as you mentioned, I mean, it was a lot. Learned a hell of a lot there, working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. They promoted me a whole bunch of times. I even went to India for about 3 months, trained a whole offshore team off there. It was awesome. I learned so much. And a lot of it became stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And I like how to do, I sort of taught myself a lot of this part, but the fundamental analysis, the technical analysis, getting into the nitty gritty of financial investments. And I needed out. I was burnt out already. I'd only been in the business for about 3 or 4 years, and I needed out. And that's when I saw that infomercial, and the infomercial rolled me. It was a guy. I don't know if he's in jail now. His name is John Beck. It was Tax Lien Systems. A lot of those guys are in jail now, but invested in his course. It was a pretty cool course. It taught me how to like buy tax defaulted property. And didn't do anything with it, but I read all about it and everything. And then at the end of it, it was like, if you're serious about real estate, call this number. It's like, it was an 800 number. Okay, I guess I'm serious. I picked up the phone and called this infomercial, and why not? So the best salesman in the world talked me into, from a $49 purchase, into a $6,000 over-the-phone coaching program, which at the time was 3 credit cards I put together, right? Like 3 credit cards, all at $2,000 credit lines apiece. And that coaching changed. It didn't change my world as far as that was the coaching program that ended all coaching programs. It wasn't really even a great coaching program, but that got me to read that Rich Dad Poor Dad book. Have you read that book, Josh?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, we all entrepreneurs have read that book everywhere I go, right? So that homework assignment changed my whole world, from looking at money, from looking at assets, from looking at liability standpoints. And I knew at that point I was going to be a business owner, and I was going to be a real estate guy. I didn't know how yet, but I knew that those two things were going to happen, and that was going to get me out of that, what they call rat race of the corporate world. So that was that beginning story, man. And as we moved forward into it, I'll try to make the long story short, but I was kind of mad at myself and really down for about 1.5 years, because I had paid like for 4 or 5 of these coaching programs, and I still hadn't done anything yet, right? Like I didn't get my real estate license until 2009. This is now 2005 is what we're talking. And I was mad at myself. I finally was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm going to do something. And I have a shampoo bottle. So I love your podcast, first of all. I mean, I should have started by doing that, right? Like, I love everything about your theme, about who you have on your podcast and their whole setup and their scenario. I'm going to obviously plug you. You don't need a plug from me, but I mean, to relate to that, I had a shampoo bottle in my shower, right? This might be way too much information. I won't ask you to picture me naked in the shower. I won't do that. Okay. But we have a shampoo bottle, and I remember thinking to myself, like, I had way more hair back then too, by the way, for the record. I remember looking at that shampoo bottle being like, I have to get one real estate deal done by the time the shampoo bottle goes to 0. And I'm at like 25% left in the shampoo bottle. It was a Suave bottle, nothing really special, but I didn't have an accountability partner. And now we're going back on it. That was what I used as an accountability partner, was the stupid shampoo bottle in the shower every morning, seeing it dwindling down further and further. And I was frustrated. And every day, I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. Like, the coaches taught me a few things. My mindset was right, but I couldn't quite get off the ground and get some traction. And all of a sudden, by the way, tell me this is way too long. I'm okay with that. Like, just tell me to shut up.
Awesome, dude.
I I was mad at myself. All of a sudden, I got this contact that emailed me from Minnesota, from out of state. So I'm from the Boston area. This guy emails me. He's like, hey, listen, you're trying to get into real estate. I see you very active online. I have access to all of these undervalued pieces of real estate here in Minnesota and in Wisconsin. And also, I have this database of lease option tenant buyers that are already in place, that once we close on these properties, they're going to come in and rent these properties higher than market rent, and they're going to have a contract to buy that property in 3 years, 20% above what we pay for it right now. I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, okay, not only is this like the best deal I've ever heard, this guy's going to teach me kind of the in-depths. I didn't know anything about lease options or rent-to-owns or anything like that back then. He's going to teach me everything. We're going to get in here. And back then, in 2005, you could make money at the closings. I'm sure you remember all this, Josh, yep. Where you could, be it legal or not now, we would close on a house $450,000 to the seller. And completely legally back then, they would turn around and hand us a check for $50,000 at the closing table and say, thank you so much. We appreciate it, right? So the goal, the partnership and how that was all set up, this gentleman out in Minnesota and Wisconsin said, listen, here's the deal. I need a credit partner. I can't sign for these loans. I've had some credit issues. I need you to sign on these loans, but I'll find the deals. I'll line up these tenant buyers. I'm going to manage those properties, and in 3 years, we'll manage the resale for you, and I just need you to sign the loans for them. So I'm like looking at my shampoo bottle. I'm like, this is it. This is my opportunity to at least jump in. It's not local, but this is it. So I didn't buy one of them. I decided to if I buy one, I get $50,000 back at each closing. Well, screw this. I'm going to buy 5 in 1 week. Because why not? That's what I do, right? So I did. We closed on 5. All of them were either 90% or 100% financed deals. And I was all excited, got all these checks back. The guy made 40%. We were making 60%, right? And we got all these checks and it funded all of my consulting and education and coaching that I just paid for. And then we had our Monday morning call, which was to next steps and the tenant buyers and this and that, the purchase and sales agreements. And the guy didn't show up for his Monday morning call. We're like, where is this guy? What's going on? Like, these properties, we just bought all these, and what's happening? We have 10 loans on these. And as it would turn out, the business model was not what he said. There were no tenant buyers. There was no contracts. We believe that there was a lot of forging that had happened with his show us due diligence and all this stuff. So my first 5 deals in real estate, he was gone. So I now were paying an attorney to try to chase him and property managers to try to manage these 5 single family homes. And my first 5 deals in real estate, as it would go down in history, I lost all 5. And as a banker, you're expected to have a certain financial situation, a certain credit score. And my credit score was not even there, especially with 10 loans. If you think about it back then, if it was all 90% financed, I had about 10 loans on all 5 properties. They were calling my cell phone every 43 seconds. Collections calls, automated collections calls, just calling, EMC Mortgage Corporation all the time. And it really put me in a really dark, bad place. So I lost 4 to short sale. I didn't know what a short sale was back then. And one was an approved short sale, but the EMC Mortgage had moved their headquarters during the exact week, apparently, that they were approving that short sale. That one ended up as a foreclosure in my credit report. So I basically put my head in the sand. I still have my job, thank God. I put my head in the sand. I was like, what the hell just happened to me? Let me take a step back, breathe, figure this all out, and find out what's going on in my own head. I still had one course that I had paid for that I hadn't taken yet. It was with one of those self-help guys. It was a hypnotist. I don't know if you heard of Marshall Silver was his name. He's a Vegas guy. So I had one course laid up. I'm like, you know what? 6 months later, I already paid for this. Might as well go take it. And it was just a self-help guy that, in that room that day, he's like, whose fault was this? It was my fault, right? I did this. I made these choices. I made these mistakes. I didn't analyze these deals properly. I didn't know what I was doing in real estate. Once I took ownership of it, once I said this was all me, I can't be mad at this guy anymore, no matter what he did to me. I need to create and turn this into a positive for me. And despite my credit score, despite my new cash situation, screw it all. What did I learn? where do I go from here? Like, do I still do I want to work at the bank the rest of my life? Do I still think there's something here in this real estate game? Like, where am I supposed to be? And I took that time, and once I took ownership of it and realized that was all my fault, and now I had to set my own rules and systems and consistencies in place and kind of get my mind right again. Once I had figured all that out, which took another solid 3 to 4 months, so it was like 7, 8, 10, 9 months after this all happened. I finally realized, real estate's still this thing. I know there's a way here in real estate to get out. I just got to figure this out. So I started slowly. I networked locally. I started going to some of those real estate clubs that are in the area, and I met this one guy who was buying and condoing a whole bunch of. In Boston, we're really well known for there's no more land left or homes left here in Boston. The land is there, right? It's all either going to be underwater or it's all built in 1800. So there's everything's wrong with it. They're all about to collapse, but they're still there. So we do a lot of condoing here in the hot markets. So I met a guy who was condoing in the Boston suburbs. He taught me what he looked for. He taught me a little bit more about construction. He taught me kind of what he was looking for, everything. So at nights and weekends, I made a commitment to myself after I made my rules to go out and literally knock on doors. I was knocking on doors for a solid 3 months, nights and weekends, Somerville, Cambridge, and Massachusetts. And most of them were tenants in 3-family buildings, but I would get to the tenants and kind of get to their landlord and make the phone call and do my best to find out if we could strike a deal. And if we could strike a deal on my contract, I would then turn around and sell that contract, which is very much frowned upon now as a licensee. But back then, you could flip contracts back in 2005, 2006 to end investors. So I learned an awful lot about marketing, about prospecting, about consistency, about what this guy looked for, and about how to find deals for a buyer I already had lined up. And that really taught me everything I needed about this business. And long story short, 6 months later, with the money I was making from this guy kind of paying me to flip these contracts to him, I had enough money saved up for my first down payment with a hard money shark loan on my first 3-family condo conversion here in the Boston market. Didn't make any money on that. I broke even, but that was the biggest win I had ever had because I had done my own deal. I controlled it. I didn't rely on a partner. I had my own systems in place. And from that one deal back in 2006, the good news is we're at about 200 projects, as I mentioned, and we've maintained profitability on all except 6 deals at this point. So we're pretty solid on the rehab front, and that's really how I got started. Was more from the investor buyer angle. Getting licensed was really just a matter of I tried to work with a few different agents in my market. And honestly, these agents that we had here in my market, they were, all of the age of 60, there's nothing wrong with that either. But they didn't quite understand that I was putting my money out on the line, both on the buy and the sale front. And if they're going to tell me a resale value that I was going to get and they couldn't meet that resale value, that was money I'm losing out of my pocket. And for them, it was like, oh, well, it's just a price reduction, just 10,000 here and 20,000 here. But to me, if I'm only making 50 grand on that deal, $20,000 is a lot of money. So don't tell me what you're going to list it at. I want to know what we're going to sell it at. And sure, you can test the market if you're in a hot market, or if we're in a slow market, you're going to list it 5% below what the market is right now. And that's why I ended up getting my license because, probably I was a pain in the ass to the other agents that worked with me. So,
yep. I love it, dude. So you've got, that's a big part of your business, right? Going out there and like you've talked about, you've had over 200 of these successful projects, or at least 194 of them that have been successful that you profited on. But then now, dude, you've got the short sale company, you've got your brokerage. What led you into, let's go to the short sale company first. What led you into, getting into that space and elaborate on definitely what you do, because I think it's something that can definitely help our audience.
Sure, for sure. That's all timing is what that was. This was now in 2009. I met my partner who, believe it or not, was like an admin / door opener at my local real estate investment group. She had the marketing background. I kind of had the knowledge at this point. I'd already done, 5 of my own short sales, right? So now I knew what the hell they were all about. And I didn't even tell you that part of it. I didn't know what short sales were so far back then, where I was signing documents that the bank was giving me. And this leads into the short sale company where I mean, I had signed $400,000 on my credit report as judgments and promissory notes owed. I didn't know any of that at the time. So I had to make a decision at that point. Do I file bankruptcy or do I try to pay all this stuff off? Maybe very stupidly, I decided to pay it all off little by little, slowly, as I kind of went through my real estate company. But that relates to the short sale question. 2009 was a very interesting time, as we can all remember. It was kind of the first big crash that I had lived through, especially in a real estate guy. I didn't know anything else, right? So I knew 05, 06, 07, 08. Now I'm like, what's going on? So we tried to be buying and rehabbing and selling some of these short sales, and we realized that everyone we worked with around here, if they were an attorney, they were too darn busy anyway. Right? They had so many closings. They were doing bankruptcies. They had lots of paralegals, but they were all too busy. You couldn't get an update from them. You couldn't get it. You didn't know when it was going to close, if it was going to close, if they needed more paperwork. You had no idea. And we tried to work with a third-party negotiator nationally out of Florida, and it was the same deal. The biggest issues we were running into were communication and getting the job done, right? So we were like, you know what? We know the process. We're good if we can focus in on these two big problems that we're seeing with all of these other servicers out there. Let's just give it a run. We'll service our own deals first, and then as laws would change in 2011, 2012, we're going to just focus only on servicing real estate agents, attorneys, and homeowners. And that's really where kind of that went, where we grew from kind of just doing our own thing. Maybe it was 6, 7, 8 deals a year. The statistics, as we researched back then, as a banker, I guess it's one of my banker things. We follow the Warren Group pretty closely, Banker and Tradesman, which is what it's called around here. Is that a national publication or is that just statewide? You guys?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, that's all right. They follow the petitions to foreclose and notices of default very closely around here. So we tracked all those stats and saw a trend that was about to come and about to hit pretty hard. This is back then. And we try to capitalize on it based on helping homeowners, helping real estate agents without taking any piece of their commission, and helping these attorneys who really didn't know what they had just gotten themselves into. And we could still get them their same fee and do all the work for them, which they really appreciated. So it just became a niche. We didn't realize it was going to be as big as it was. It exploded in 2009, 2010, 2011. As the market kind of got hotter and hotter, things slowed down a bit. But it's funny you mentioned that again today, Josh, because I mean, as you probably follow pretty closely, at least here in Boston, our market cycle is about 10 years. So today, 2018, I talked to you. We look back at where we were in January of 2008. And the numbers with the Warren Group are supporting all of that. When we go around and speak to real estate brokerages right now, from 2014 until now, this is the boring stuff, it's stats, right? But 2014 until now, 2014 to 2015, up 98% notices of default. We call them order of notices around here. So that's 90 days late on your mortgage. 2015 to 2016, up 98%, same number. 2015 to 2016. 2016 to 2017, petitions to foreclose up, you'll never guess what number, 98%. So here we are, and we've gone up roughly 100% every single year for the past 4 years. Why is that? Older parents moving into assisted living facilities. We have lots of income reduction, not job loss, but income reduction or medical care for their older parents. That's the big one, is medical care for their older parents right now. Baby boomers need a place to go. And for those baby boomers that did not downsize, that did not do aging in place, they're finding themselves in a really tough place right now where they fall down a set of stairs or, God forbid, something happens to them, and now they have no options. They can't sell. Now they're in, let's say that they've hoarded all their stuff for so long because the Depression era, they can't sell for market value. So where are they going to go? And what do their loved ones have to do to try to save that property? Well, now it's probably not going to be worth more than they owe on it, if it's a reverse mortgage or not, and it's going to go into short sale territory. So we literally fell into it. I can't say I was a genius and came up with the whole master plan of having the market cycles and taking advantage, trying to help out real estate agents and attorneys, but that's kind of where it went.
Yeah,
that was a lot. That was a really long answer for a short question. Sorry.
Nah, I love it, man, and it's crazy because people forget pain so quickly. I mean, now, so one of my business partners that we created an REO and short sale training program for recently. We just released it. He was an asset manager and a senior asset manager on the bank side. During those the last market crash is sold over on the asset management side over 11,000 properties, and we're having this conversation of like all these things. Now it's not as bad and as loose as it was in 2005, but dude, I mean, there's so many of they're getting very loose again with the guidelines, and you're just seeing so many of the same mistakes repeated over and over. Because again, people forget pain so quickly. Now, none of us have a crystal ball, right? I'm sure if we did, we wouldn't be on this podcast. We'd, have our own private island somewhere. But the reality
or at the sports book at the MGM Grand. Yeah.
But the reality is, dude, is what follows a bull market is always these corrections, and it's gonna happen. And what scares me is if you look at the true stats today, there's 900,000 less jobs in the United States before the last recession. You got 50% of Americans with medical debt now, 40% with student loan debt. 72 plus auto month loans are all-time highs. The median middle class income is dropping at record lows, like you said. People aren't necessarily losing their jobs, but income cuts are happening. I mean, we're as a country really in a hell of a lot worse shape than we were before the start of the last recession. So it'll be interesting to see what comes, and what's also crazy, dude, and because I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, right? So we have all these retirement communities, 55 plus. And dude, over the last few years, man, I mean, there's so many reverse mortgages that are done where these people have no equity. I mean, they don't have a mortgage payment because they're eating up that equity. So they can't sell either, like you're talking about. And I read a stat the other day, only 2% of Americans can retire at the age of 65 without being reliant on family to take care of them. That's how poor people are planning for retirement now. So there's nothing left. So it's going to be something that we're going to see. Now, will it be as intense as the last market crash? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, some people are predicting it's going to be a hell of a lot worse, but we know it's going to happen, right? So,
absolutely.
So, with that, I mean, real estate agents really have two choices. You can either learn how to go out there and negotiate these, which, I've done, well over 1,000 short sales in my real estate team. And, Phoenix was one of the hardest markets hit, but there is so much work that goes into that, and what I love about your company is you can outsource it, but you're not taking our commission, right? Like you said. So kind of walk us through like what you guys do and how real estate agents can tie into your program there with that. Because it's something that either real estate agents need to be prepared and educated and do it themselves, or, team up with a great company like yours.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So, well, my partner, Marianne, she's what we call the brains and the beauty behind the operation. She runs, we now have a full-time staff. All they do all day long is call, fax, and email banks all day long. Real estate agents, if they have any sort of deal, even if they have a question on a deal, it's best if you are a third-party negotiator. I hate self-promoting, but I mean, obviously you can use us, you can use someone in your local market. We can handle pretty much anything in any market except the specific states that require a debt negotiator's license, like Connecticut. That's pretty much the only state we found that we can't work in yet. But essentially, even before you activate the listing, it's best to get, a third-party negotiator involved, because they literally can help you set everything up for success. That we set the expectations from the seller side, we set them from the buyer side. Our goal in that transaction is to really get to a closing. We don't represent anybody. So one can say that we help the seller more than anybody else, because obviously we're now stepping in between them and their lenders and their collection calls that are trying to happen right at that moment. But our goal is to get the buyer for them to be happy on their buyer. They're getting a little bit of a deal, right? Seller's happy because they're out of their mortgage altogether and they're out from underneath all their debt. We hook them up with, when we can, discounted or free legal representation, discounted or free CPAs, tax information. And at the end of the day, obviously, we don't get paid either if the deal doesn't close, right? So we're all performance-based. And we're just, we've trained our staff to be really good at what we do. Part of the thing that we do is communication, too. A lot of times we used to see deals fall apart because the buyer's not being kept in the loop as to what's going on. So, 3 months later, they're like, what's happening here? Is anyone working on this? What's going on? So we try to make sure that as soon as any one of our people, our processors, touch that file, there's an email generated, right? So we use the software, and as soon as there's an update on a file, an email's generated to all parties, all relevant parties, sometimes being the buyer's agent and buyer, so that they're kept in the loop. They know what's going on. And once we get that approval letter that is generated from those lien holders, we're the ones that shoot it out to everybody. Buyers, sellers, the closing agent, the lenders, the title companies, anybody we need to send that to, we kind of keep that transaction going as smoothly as possible. So what I say is, if a listing agent has a question, or a buyer's agent for an investor has a question, it's good to kind of loop us in from the very, very beginning. And we can even assist you if you have questions on how do I set up this listing, what's a guideline as to maybe where an offer would get accepted if market value is X and Y. We can kind of help coach through all that. But obviously we rely on local market expertise for the local market. We don't try to take anyone's job away. Yeah. So we just do what we can to plug in all the right pieces wherever they're needed. That's really what we do.
Well, and I think what would be powerful with it now, obviously, I mean, I've always negotiated mine in-house, so I can't speak to this, but I would think that there'd be a lot of power for if I'm going on a short sale listing presentation and telling the seller, that we've teamed up with this, short sale mitigation company that has all these resources. This is what they do. They're the best, whatever. You're going to have that much more success at landing those listings as well. With that now, I mean, back in the day during the last market crash, I mean, there were certain laws in place where there was the Debt Forgiveness Act and things like that. Now that that's went away, I mean, for real estate agents that are getting involved in short sales or their clients are in short sales, I mean, how do you, there's a fine line with what to advise them and how to seek with your CPA, but, how does that impact the seller today compared to with the Debt Forgiveness Act when it comes to those charge-offs, if you will?
Sure, absolutely. So the right answer when we give our continuing education credits here in Massachusetts, the right answer to every seller is, I don't know, let me find out, right? Let me get you the right professional you can talk to. That's the correct answer. Going a little further than that on this podcast for your people, right? Debt Forgiveness Act obviously did expire, which the best case scenario, to kind of go back a step, best case scenario for a seller that's about to broach default rather, is they get what's called a 1099-C from their lender at the end of that year. That's a cancellation of debt. That's good. That means they can no longer attack that homeowner for the next 20 years. In Massachusetts, we have a 20-year judgment state. They cannot go back after any of that balance is due. They can't claim a deficiency. They've written it off. It's gone. So they're taking a deduction on their taxes for that, which, by the way, we, the taxpayers of the United States, pay anyway, but we won't get into that in this conversation. That's a whole different story. If that's good news for them. Now, the challenge becomes, as you just mentioned, Josh, like they used to be able to have that just, okay, that's tax-free. So if they owed $400,000, the house sold for $300,000, they would owe taxes on $100,000 of ordinary income extra that year because they wrote it off. That's kind of what the big problem was. So people would owe, if they were in a 20% tax bracket, that would be $20,000 extra dollars they would owe that year. And obviously they didn't have that money because they had to short sale their home anyway. So Debt Forgiveness Act kind of waived a lot of that to kind of knock that off. The difference is right now, if they're hooked, so that's now expired, so there's no more Debt Forgiveness Act, but if they are hooked up with the correct CPAs and tax advisors, there's certainly other avenues they can go by. One of them being, and I'm not a tax advisor, right? So I can't advise this stuff, but one of our CPAs that we refer a lot of our short sellers to and our agents to, it's an insolvency worksheet. If they can go through an insolvency worksheet and it's clear that they still don't have this money or that they're facing a severe hardship that year from an income perspective or assets perspective, they can still get out from underneath that having be taxable to them. But that's really all on a CPA and on them going down that worksheet with those homeowners, So there's still a chance. There's definitely a chance to get out of that. And we try to hook them up with the right team.
Yep. Yeah. So, excuse me. So, I mean, the key there is then, when you're working with, is it on the real estate front, right? Is making sure that they have a true hardship, right? I mean, this isn't those that go into strategic, short sell defaults or whatever, or, that are just have the money, but like, screw it, I'll never get this equity back. So, I want to go this route. So, love it, dude. So, yeah, just so I don't forget, what's the name of the company? Where's the best place for agents to go find it if they want to talk to you, learn more about it, to be able to utilize your services for the short sell
cool.
mitigation? Yep. Where's the best place to go do that at?
Thank you. Sure. Yep. It's the main company website is www.shortsalemitigation.net, N-E-T. So shortsalemitigation.net. The blog site right now is more geared towards, we obviously have a huge presence here in New England. We're actually number one by volume in Mass and half of New Hampshire right now, which is cool. But like that's Massachusetts shortsales.net. Which I know is hard for anybody to spell, so I don't expect you to even spell it out in this podcast. But, you go to shortsalemitigation.net is the best way to kind of check out Marianne and I and check out the company and what they can do.
Love it, dude. So then you got the sign right behind you with AA Real Estate Group. You started your own real estate brokerage, right? And I love your guys' strategy here, right? So the real estate agents are out there trying to find you investment deals, but then it's such an easy segue then into them going those that the real estate deal numbers don't pencil out, but now they have an interest of selling. It's such an easy segue now for these real estate agents to go out there and get listings and for real estate agents that are listening to this that aren't with your brokerage, I know your brokerage is specific with this, but really any real estate agent can go do something similar. They could team up with an investor, client, and go kind of do these same strategies, wherever they are in their marketplace. So, talk to us about, how the real estate brokerage formed and how you guys operate and some of the strategies that you're doing.
Absolutely. So this formed completely on accident. I gotta be honest with you. I did not have this genius master plan behind us like that we were going to go out and do this, but we've come across investors and agents. It's so funny because coming from the investor world and now obviously knowing the agent world a bit, the marketing is very similar. We're just going after different targets or sometimes the same targets. So what we try to do was just kind of meld those two together. The people that investors market to typically have always been not people who want to sell or even have been interested in selling. It's people who need to sell for one reason or another, right? So evictions, divorce, fire damage, notice of default. These people need services that a lot of times retail agents can't provide, but maybe agents that are familiar in the investor world can provide. So hoarder situations, right? People who they're embarrassed to have open houses and put something on the open market, but there's people out there that they can, agents that know investors can kind of still service that listing and take that listing and just not be embarrassed that homeowner. So anyway, starting the brokerage. Well, that was, again, I got my license probably because I was too needy and a control freak and no agent would want to deal with me after I put my money up front and people would give me, I had agents that I worked with, they would give me these resale figures and we try to resell these rehabs that we were doing and it was my money on the line and then they wouldn't come in at those numbers. They would come in significantly less and to them it was, well, what's one price reduction? We'll just drop it 10 grand and 10 grand and 10 grand. But to us, that was another 10 grand that was out of our pocket. And if we took a loss on something, it was a significant loss. So I got my license just because I wanted to see, feel, and touch these comps, these comparable properties to all of my rehab deals. And once I did that, I kind of aligned with one of the traditional brokerages. I was with Century 21 for a while, for about 3 years. And in that office, I learned kind of what everybody else did. I learned about the retail side. I learned how to deal with a seller if they walked in. My only retail listing I had ever taken back then was a retail listing that had walked into the office, and I had no idea what the heck to do with this poor lady who was trying to sell her condo. But I learned an awful lot. And I started thinking to myself, like, if I could try to take my world and kind of meld it with this world, like, I don't know if these agents would even know what to do with themselves. They literally would have leads throwing themselves, trying to sell other homes. And literally, I didn't do this smart, by the way. I got my broker's license here in Mass. I then went in front of one of these real estate investor groups, not a real estate agency place, but an investor group that says, hey, everybody, you just got my broker's license. Come on in. And in the first week, I think we grew to like 35 real estate agents. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I didn't have a back office set up. I had no team. Like I had an admin, but she didn't know what she was doing either. It was really, really bad. And I don't suggest anybody just build a brokerage without having a plan, without knowing what they're doing. I'm sure that for team, like your team too, Jeff, like you kind of built it step by step, a little bit at a time. That makes way more sense than what I had just done. So I then learned, it was actually one of my hard money, my shark lenders told me, like, you don't pay these people. Like, you can let them go. It's okay. They're taking up all your time. They're making no income. Like, you're coaching, but they're not doing anything. So I had to have really tough conversations with like 32 of these 35. And we started again. And by restarting in the investor world, all we were doing was marketing to those people I just mentioned, right? The people who need to sell and not want to sell. And we didn't mean to have it turn into a gigantic lead generation engine, but it literally did. We started ramping up. We would just send, maybe a few hundred letters and make a few hundred calls a month. And that really ramped up into, bringing on an inside sales agent that just kind of hits the phones. They can make 5,000 phone calls a week. We get them out calling everybody that's in any one of these situations. We set appointments. We still have, we invest roughly $15,000 to $20,000 in marketing on a monthly basis at this point. And all of these people that call in, everybody who emails us, they're not just, in my world, they're not just like an expired, like, yeah, I'll sell if I get the right price. These are people that have an issue and they've contacted us because they need to sell. So in my business and in my structure, which, by the way, very happy to replicate now across the country in case any of your listeners are listening and want to kind of get with us on this. We would have an offer generated for every single lead that would call in, and we would train our agents on how to go out there and present our offer as a principal. But if they go out there and it's a beautiful listing and it's all retail and the kitchen was just redone, that's not an investor deal, right? That's a retail listing. They're going to get way more money putting it on the open market than they will selling to an investor. So we kind of train them how to pivot that into their own retail listing that they can then service. And that's just turned into, the lead gen itself. We have a very, very successful business based on that premise. That's really what we focus on now. And now it's just training and kind of building those teams around the country where we can.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. So you've got, the pivot is awesome, right? Because it's, again, here's our offer. Here's what this is, right? And I guess seeing their body language, whatever, and what they give, right? And it's like, well, like here's, if that number doesn't work for you, here's what we can get on the retail market, or maybe you're presenting both at the same time in an easy segue. And then if they're in a short sale situation, boom, you'll plug them, into that platform and that program. Right. So it's awesome. So now you guys are at up to what, like 30 agents now, correct?
We have 30 agents. Yep. About 35 coming on pretty soon. Yeah.
Yep. Love it, dude. So I know our listeners will be curious, everybody's favorite topic is always lead generation. And you have these ISAs doing 5,000 dials a week, which is insane. How are you identifying these people? And kind of walk us through what your funnel looks like.
Sure, absolutely. So we have a whole bunch of different lead sources, and I'm willing to share all of them if you guys want. Some of them have better success than others, but we subscribe. Well, I'll give you the easy ones first. So we can pull right off public records. We have virtual assistants pulling data from it's our deed site. Masslandrecords.com is our statewide registry. Do you guys have an online registry in Arizona?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So, we pull the notices of default straight from the registry on the online sites. We pull multi-unit and eviction owners from the courts are even now online. They weren't for a while, which helped us because we had attorneys that we were kind of paying for these leads. But when they went online, they became public record. So we started marketing to them publicly, as did lots of other people. Boston is, by the way, very, very competitive here in the investor world and in the real estate agency space. We have tons and tons of people doing this. I like to think not at my scale, but they're still doing a lot of this. So we had to kind of find ways to remain competitive and to kind of get access to these leads ahead of time. So we have notices of default, which are on the registry site. We have evictions, which are on the online courts website that we pull from. We have straight multi-unit owners, which are on public records online data. Netaronline.com is one of those national public records databases I refer out a lot. It's cool. It's a free site, and you can literally, if any town or county data is online, it's on that site, which is kind of cool.
What was the name of it again?
Netaronline.com. Yeah, it's I don't know how I stumbled upon that a bunch of years ago, but it was pretty helpful. So that's public records data. We have a VA that basically searches and scours all of the news articles from the day before on fire damaged homes. So we market to those fire damaged homes, which the list every day that comes in fresh. We have access to the divorce court, again, which is, for us, it's online, but you have to poke around a little bit harder. So we have some attorney contacts that we work with that kind of help poke a little further. But it's pretty much coming from all of those fronts, right? So they all come in from either different VAs or like 3 different VAs pull all that data. And then another VA sorts all that data into what our ISA can then use to load up into their power dialer. In our case, we use Mojo Dialer. And they just sit on a headset all day long and outbound call for us, right? So I used to be that guy that did that. I was pretty damn good at it, not gonna lie. My partner Rob in the office, he's pretty damn good at it too. We did outsource that just recently, about 6 months ago, and it helps free up a lot of our time. We don't know if the close rates would be better if we were doing it, but either way, it frees us up completely, and they're still closing lots and lots of deals and appointments. And at that point, the appointment comes into our CRM. The CRM kind of loads all the data, and we can either choose to make a follow-up call from that side internally, or we just assign it to one of the members in our agency. They go out, right out there, get a construction estimate, present our offer, and then pivot to a listing if it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, love it, dude, man. So, you mentioned something about, other teams, other agents, and other areas kind of plug into the system. I mean, is that something that you guys have done? You got this amazing system there in your market. I mean, are you expanding into other states, other areas, and how does that tie in with the other agents and other teams?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're absolutely looking to kind of grow and expand this model into different states. Right now, we are regional, so we're New England based right now. Mass, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, New York, which I know is not New England, but like we're very focused here. We're starting to kind of launch in a national way. The challenge is you have a tremendous following on your podcast, Josh. So like, I don't want to be that guy that stands in front of the investor club and was like, hey, everybody, come on in. Because then, we'd have 50 states and we couldn't probably service all those. But we're taking very slow, smart growth on this. And if we find a really good partner in different states, and we can all work together on that, and we can kind of provide all of it, just kind of plug and play all of our systems together, we would definitely, absolutely consider that. That's where we're heading next. Yes.
Yeah. No, I love it, dude. Now, do you see yourself? And I don't know. I mean, I guess it's early stages with it, but do you see yourself with this system? I mean, keeping everything in house, keeping it corporate, or at some point potentially franchising what you're doing?
Great question. I guess we kind of look at that model of building out different brokerage offices in different states. I guess you could call that a franchise model, but having, just like you, I mean, we're both entrepreneurs. I'm involved in a couple, specialty retail franchises right now. And I never want to be the franchisor because that's never a good thing. So, everyone who's listening to this, start your own company. Don't worry about franchises. It's a terrible situation. That's just me. So good question. I guess if we take our model and kind of duplicate it, we have a different creative partnership structure where they don't have to take our name per se. It's really all about trying to get everybody to make more money, do more deals, help more homeowners. It's really a triple win situation. So if we can kind of expand what we know into different markets and get that triple win happening, it doesn't need to be a franchise model, but that's a great point that you made. I don't really have that set up yet. I do know that you guys are all way smarter than us up here in the Northeast. Today is a summer day. It is 45 degrees. I don't have a jacket today. I have this sweatshirt. It was negative 20 just a week ago here in Boston. And we want to get the hell out of Northeast is really where we'd like to go, just to be completely honest. But so does everybody, right? So I have some colleagues down in Florida, and they're like, well, we're just, it's not that, we're smarter than you. You just haven't moved yet. And they're right. Why are we here? I have no idea. So that is part of the model, is to maybe relocate somewhere a little warmer, which you've already figured out.
Yep. Phoenix is a good place to be, baby. So then with that, like, let's just say I'm like, all right, dude, Nick, I want to partner up with my team and your strategies and what you're doing there. Does that then require, because to do what you do inside your brokerage, obviously you're pitching to buy those properties, right? I mean, are you guys then looking to expand your actual investment acquisition side into all these multiple states? Would you still be the buyer, or is it then identifying other investors in the area that would, be the buyers for those properties?
Totally, either way. So the answer is yes. I mean, I have bought, well, not internationally, but nationally, we've bought, we have stuff in Florida and Pennsylvania and Ohio, a little bit in California and Nevada, not anything in Arizona yet. We do buy in other states, but we don't want to force ourselves down anybody's throats either. Like, that'll be an option for sure, right? But obviously, that said, if I'm the buyer there, I'm going to rely super heavily on that agent's or that team's expertise, right? So I don't know what the resale value is going to be. I need someone to kind of walk me through everything. And at that point, of course, they get the marketing, they get the lead from our lead generation. Of course, they get the buyer side on that. If there's enough money for the buyer side to come in, if there's not, they at least get the listing on that plus a bonus for kind of bringing that into the system. So I wouldn't force our company as an acquisitions down their throat, but we can definitely train them on bringing in investors and having those investors be second, third, fourth choice, if not their first. Yeah, I think it's a huge part of this market, Josh. That obviously investors are we're out there, right? Especially in a hot market when there's 18 more seminars coming into town and more HGTV shows coming out. They're everywhere. And I feel like if agents really knew how to market to those people, whether they're investor deals or not, it's a tremendous source of leads for people, tremendously. So yep. I'm a huge proponent. So
yep, love it, dude. So then with this strategy, just to give our listeners an idea, what percentage of your brokerage, the deals that are done end up being actual deals that you guys are acquiring on the investment side compared to that actually turn into a residential, or not residential, but a legitimate, regular, traditional listing?
Sure, absolutely. In this market, so in Boston right now, again, I don't know the Arizona market that well right now, but in Boston right now, we're at all-time highs, even more so than 05 and 06 at this point here. We call it stupid. It's stupid hot right now. So a lot of sellers know that even if they are in a motivated situation or they absolutely have to get out, a lot of them know that, hey, listen, I'm still going to just throw this on the open market, and within 3 days I'm going to have here. We just had an open house. We had 90 people go in and out of an open house, and we had this might be the same numbers as Arizona, I don't know, but we had multiple offer situation. 18 offers would come in, all over asking. Some of them $100,000 over asking, all cash. It's stupid. It's just stupid. So in this market particularly, yes, we're closing very, very little of these deals that come in, right? So they're coming in, and our offer itself is not a lowball offer. We're very, very transparent with our numbers. So we basically start with our resale value, whatever the agent or we run as our comparable resale value. We back out our soft costs, the real estate commission to the listing agent, the holding costs, and the legal and acquisition fees that are here in Mass locally. And then we back out our construction. Our profit margin now is probably 10 to 12% versus 2008, 2009, where it was 20%. So we try to do that to be competitive, but even when that offer is presented to that seller, we have our cost per lead and our cost per deal analysis on the investor side. I'd say we probably only get an offer signed 1 out of 12 or 15 appointments. Yeah. And that's okay. I'm expecting that in this market, right? So what does that mean for us? It just means work harder, hustle more, bring in more leads, make more appointments, right? And obviously for our agents, they love that because every single one of those 12. I will say this. I will say that with the agents that we selectively work with, right, that are hustlers, that are closers, we obviously train a little bit too. They are about 95% close rate on the listing side. So if we can't get it done for an offer as a buyer, they are closing these deals. And that's what we want, right? That monetizes the lead. It helps that homeowner out. It helps the agent out. Everybody's happy still in the end, which is really, really awesome.
Yeah, no, I love it. Look, I got to imagine too in this situation with how you guys set it up and create these leads, potential clients. I got to imagine that a number that are going out there and interviewing 3 or 4 agents like a traditional seller might is far less, right? I mean, because you're solving a very specific issue. So probably those vast majority are only interviewing you, and that's why your close rate is like double what the national average is on getting those listings.
100% agree with you. So a lot of agents I found, right, they're conditioned with their pitches and with their sales pitches. With us, we decided that it wasn't as important for us to even get it. And this is how we modeled the training with our agents too, not just the investor side, which is where I came from, but our agents, right? You're not there to necessarily take the listing. You're there to solve a problem, because everyone that we market to has a problem, right? They're not just, I want to get tons of money for my for sale by owner, my expired. They have an issue, and they've called, or they put in a web form, or they've responded to a direct mail. They've responded for a reason. So it's part of our ISA's job and our job to find out what that reason is. And if we can be that person that doesn't just want to either purchase their home or doesn't just want to list their home and sell for tons of money, what can we do to solve that problem, right? What people can we put up? Do they need movers, organizers, cleaners? Do they need a public adjuster if they're a fire damaged person? Do they need, listen, Mr. Seller, I'm not here to purchase your home, or I'm not here just to list your home. My job is to be your point of reference for anything you might need in this transaction. Now, obviously you contacted us on, our divorce list or our fire list or this and that. What can we do to help you get out from underneath your debt, or, move you and your mom to North Carolina where you really want to be and get the hell out of this cold that we have up here? Like, what can we do to get you there quicker? That's my job, whether I get your listing or I buy your house or not. And we found that's the highest close rate, right? So now they want to work with us. We at least have all those connections in place, those extra services, ancillary services, to get them where they want to be, which might not necessarily be, I want to sell my house. It might be, my mom needs an elderly care facility in 8 towns away or 4 states away. So what do? You spend 15 minutes making some phone calls, and you've helped this seller out. They're going to remember you forever. And yeah, you're first on their list to list their home or to if you want to buy it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's a big close rate.
Yeah, I love the what you mentioned there about not necessarily looking to become the realtor for life, which is the ultimate goal, but to become that resource. And I got to imagine, man, you guys are creating so many raving fans. They're not going to do business with anybody else personally, and then all the referrals and testimonials you get from them, I got to imagine is just insane.
That's it. Our goal is a testimonial. Now, our goal is not the deal, never the deal. Right. Yeah. And that's what I tell them all when I go in. Like my objective today is not to talk you into a listing. It's not to talk you into buying your house. My objective here is to make you feel comforted, happy, knowing that you can have someone in your corner that doesn't necessarily get a legal fee, that doesn't necessarily get a commission, doesn't necessarily, buy your home. Like, just call me if you have any questions. And most of the time, we don't seal the deal on our first visit. Most of the time, it's in our follow-up that seals the deal eventually, right? So it's never our first visit. It's usually our follow-up call, or in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months later, they remembered us because we didn't go in with the hot sales pitch.
Yeah, love it, dude. So I know your purpose of being on this podcast wasn't to come on here and plug all your stuff, but just because I think it's important for people to know and understand, and if real estate agents. And, the benefit of being the host of the podcast is I get first access to this. So anybody in Arizona, I'm going to, snag Nick up on his offer before you guys can. So that's going to be a side conversation as soon as it's done about partnering up on this for my own real estate team. But for those that maybe have the infrastructure inside, that are hustlers that you think would be a great partner to potentially consider taking on for this, where's the best place, Nick, to get in touch with you at for that?
Oh, absolutely. Awesome. They can literally, obviously we have tons of social media stuff that you guys can all contact me on, but if they want one sort of general email, my email is Nick, Nick, at aapremierproperties.com, Premier properties.com. That is the brokerage arm. They can send me an email there. My staff and I all check that and kind of monitor it daily. We just set up for that specific request, like you just mentioned. Basically, we try to do similar to a webinar, right? And we would just set up a 30-minute chat just to see what their goals are, what our goals are. If they mesh up, that's awesome, right? That's kind of what we're looking for. And I'm sure, you guys have full access to me on social media. Our group pages, we have the AA Real Estate Group, which is our investor page. We have a few. I won't plug all those now, but you can the emails probably might be the best way to reach me at this point.
Well, and those that are watching and listening, we'll have links to all those below in the show notes. So you can just go right below and connect with those and easily connect with Nick. So, all right, dude, so then I know, man, you're also speaking and training and doing all these other things. I mean, where are you speaking? I mean, is it mainly on a local level? Is it a national level at this point? You know, what does that look like for you?
No, it's funny. I had the opportunity to go to do a national thing. And I at the time, there's still in the investor world, not the real estate agent world, but in the investor world, there's a kind of a bad taste in people's mouths if you start to go national, because like when you go national, I feel like I know a lot of those national guys now, and I know they're really not doing deals anymore. So they're really disconnected. And I'm a very real guy. Like, if I'm going to kind of coach, if I'm going to do this, I want to be doing my business as well. Like, I want to be in the trenches with these guys doing my own thing. So I know what's new. I know what's fresh. I know what's working, what's not. So that's kind of, I'm more of a regional coach, a regional speaker, Mass, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, New England area. And I do that because obviously I spend, 40 hours of my 8-hour week, kind of, ramping up, working on systems, working on the business, managing people, trying to bring in better systems, better people. And that's kind of what the coaching itself is, more on the investor side. Now we do coach some agents, but I would 100% defer to you on the agent coaching stuff, looking at your stuff. You were set up for it. You were built for it. I fell into it. I did not have the agent stuff down when I jumped into it, right? I'm learning as I go at this point. Really good at lead gen, not so good building real estate agent teams and how to get assistants and that sort of thing. But anyway, yeah, it's more on a local, regional, New England basis is kind of where I do that stuff. Real estate brokerages, agencies.
So those that are maybe in the areas that you do speak, is there a place you have it on your social media site and your website of when these upcoming speaking events are, engagements are, if somebody wants to attend?
Oh, cool. Absolutely. Yeah. We try to post a lot of those events on our Facebook page. The AA Real Estate Group is our Facebook page, along with Complete Deal Flow System. But AA Real Estate Group is kind of our main catch-all for events, for public speaking. We have our own investment networking group called Black Diamond Real Estate Investors. They meet in central, Waltham, Mass, which is kind of central to the Boston area. We are kind of regionally based at this point, but I'm happy to share any sort of knowledge across the country, whatever we can do. And I like to think that the Boston and New York are kind of the two asshole cities of the country, right? Maybe there's more than that. I don't know. Around here, it's New Jersey, Boston, and New York. And I feel like doing business here was pretty tough. And if we can take this model and kind of replicate it, we've had a few people go to like the Carolinas. It seems to work really, really well, especially when people actually realize you're providing a service and not trying to like scam them and not trying to take all their what they have to live, not trying to just even get the listing like 18 other realtors maybe in different markets, right? Different markets are more competitive than others. So anyway, sorry. Again, not a great answer to your question.
Nah, I love it, man. And then the other thing too, and I would encourage all of you to watch and listen. I mean, Nick puts out so much free, amazing content on YouTube. So make sure to check out his YouTube channel because there's just a ton of, again, tips and information that you guys can get on there as well. Now, Nick, do you ever, and I like to ask this to those that own multiple different businesses and are in different spaces. Do you ever find yourself kind of being more torn or enjoying one aspect more than the other that you might see yourself kind of veering towards in the future?
Interesting. Say that one again. So like with the 4 or 5, like the different companies, you mean, like kind of going?
Yeah. Do you find yourself kind of being pulled more to one that you see yourself kind of going, like, do you ever see yourself to the point where you're getting so pulled toward this direction, you enjoy it so much that, you might go chips in all in one day in that one direction?
Sure. That's a great question. I think there's strategy there. So just like you, Josh, I own non-real estate companies too. And the fact is I learned that I'm terrible at some of those, but if you have strategic partners, right, that can kind of help. So you're a financial partner, you're a silent partner, you know some aspects, but you don't want to necessarily be someone creating a really sexy fruit arrangement and delivering it, or you don't want to really be the one tutoring that 4-year-old because you're really not smart at all. Those are the 2 companies that I own that are not real estate related. But I think, my passion still, besides building the systems and building the partnerships, building the teams, I find myself a lot bogged down in the working with the seller and getting that deal done. And that, to me, is not even just the brokerage. That's more like, how do I solve this problem? So whether that becomes a brokerage lead or an investor lead or an acquisitions lead or whatever, right? And I know that mindset itself kind of is limiting me, right? Because now I'm focused on a deal by deal basis instead of saying, how do I bring in 100 more deals this year or 1,000 more deals this year? But when you say pull, I'm trying to answer your question though. AA Real Estate Group is the investment wheel, which is kind of my baby. It's where it all started in 2005. I like to say that when I'm dealing with sellers or deals individually, I'm kind of focused more on that baby, on that arm. But every day, right? I did make a decision, right? I'm never going to open up a business that's totally unrelated to what I'm doing right now, unless it's fruit and tutoring. That's not me. I'm a silent partner. But like everything that I do has a built-in need for it, right? So the short sale company kind of naturally evolved. We were seeing lots of short sales. Our need wasn't being met. We decided to kind of fill that need. The brokerage, my need to find really good agents and work with good agents was not being met. So that's really why we started the brokerage without intending to. And with no training. And I really definitely should have taken your training back then. Yeah. I don't know if something pulls me in different ways. I mean, this year, our biggest focus is on kind of growing this model and buying multi-rental apartment buildings. It's kind of our big model this year. Did it a lot in 2010. We see another opportunity now. We're going to kind of jump back in on that market.
Yeah, love it, dude. So, yeah, I know there's, not necessarily probably regrets, because all these things like getting involved with those first 5 deals that you end up having to short sale. I mean, all those things are great learning experiences. They suck to go through them, but they really define us to the people that we are. But if the Nick today, knowing everything that you know now, could go back to the Nick on the night that you bought the $49 infomercial, first binder or whatever, knowing everything you know now, if you could go back to that younger version of yourself and give yourself 2 pieces of advice that you feel would have just fast forwarded this trajectory to success, what would those 2 pieces of advice look like?
Oh, man. You know what's funny too? I knew this question was coming because it's in like every other podcast you do, and I still didn't prepare for it. I love that question. I have to say, you know what? There's one tagline that it took me 4 years to come up with, which you might have seen because you've been kind of going through my social media stuff. Back before I did a deal and I was scared to do a deal and I was just throwing money at coaches and coaches are very, very valuable. Let's be honest, right? You and I are both coaches in different ways. But at the time when I hadn't done a deal yet, I was too scared to do one, even with a coach, even with someone pushing me there. I couldn't do it. Then the reset, when I went through those 5 terrible, terrible deals and I lost all that money in credit and then I was in $400,000 in the hole, I had to like force myself to kind of come to terms with me and with picking up my phone again and kind of trying to make things happen. So what's coming to my head is consistency, but more like a motivational quote. And I won't tell you. I'll actually, you've probably seen it, and I'll show you what it is. So I don't know if you can see it.
Yep. Shut up and do it.
That's become our tagline ever since my tough situation, and all of our agents and everybody that we have kind of follow that. If I had stuck with it, because I was really close to quitting after those first 5 deals. I was really close to quitting. I've had 3 actually now since 2005, 3 what I call reset buttons, different ways. 2005 was the single family stuff. I had a really tough, I was a victim of investment fraud back in 2009, 2010, and had some tough construction deals back in 2012. So 3 reset buttons, you'd call them. And I guess I'm here now, right? So it's more like no matter what happens to you, Nick, you got to stick with it. And every single bad thing that happens to you is what actually shapes you and makes you the person you are today. Everything you do that's bad, where you lose money or you lose your head and you're not on straight, like take it, man. It's a lesson. Sit down, write down the top 3 lessons you learned from that experience, and do not ever let them hit you again. It's a great question. I wasn't prepared for it, but I guess literally I would say don't quit, keep going, just shut your head up shut up and just keep going forward. Keep doing it.
Yeah, love it. Powerful words. And those that are watching and listening, I know I end every podcast with this, but information without implementation truly is the start of delusion. Information isn't the power. It's taking that information, taking action on it. As Nick said, shut up and do it. Go out there and take that massive action that allows you to create the life that you truly know you want and deserve. And Nick shared so many amazing pieces of advice with you guys today. Take something that you learned, go out there and take massive action on it. And again, below in the show notes will be links to Nick's websites, to his social media, so you can continue following him, continue learning from him, check out everything that he's doing today, which I highly, highly recommend that you guys do. And Nick, man, I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here, especially on this nice sunny day that you guys are experiencing with this great weather, man. I truly appreciate you being here. It's been an honor.
Josh, it's been an honor to be on your cast, man. You guys have the best content that I've seen out there on the web. So thank you so much for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Truly appreciate the kind words. And thank you guys for watching and listening. See you next time.